3. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Mario Superstar Baseball Podcast. This is the first of its kind from the NetPlay community. I'm joined with these fine folks around me, being Mr. Joe, Cokes, Remke, Krasy, and Clutch. I probably pointed very wrong there. We want to welcome you to this podcast. So we're going to do a little bit of introduction why we're here and what this is all about. I'm going to start here. I am Raviannn. I am a newer type of person in the community, 2 months in, almost 3 months in now, doing a lot of production value and video editing and video content creation stuff here on Twitch and YouTube. And I'm going to be the producer of this podcast, maybe chirping a little bit. But that's what I'm here, and that's what I'm all about. We're going to move over to Joe on my right here.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Joe. You probably know me from Mr. Joe's Baseball Show or Dingus City. Been playing Mario Baseball for a few years now, competing with the best of them and always coming in second. So I'm happy to be here, excited to talk about some Mario Baseball with some of the best to ever do it.
We're going to go over to Cokes now.
Hey, I am Cokes, Little Cokes. You might know me from the Discord. I work on Project Rio with Peacock Slayer. Not much else to me. Oh, I run NetPlay Superstars as well. But I am not good at the game anymore. I used to be good. So now I'm just kind of in the background, doing modding work, running tournaments, just kind of hanging out. But that's me in the community. That's what I do.
Remke?
Hey, I'm Remke. I am a player. I've been in the community for about a little over 2 months now. I am currently number 1 on the leaderboard. Krasy and I have been fighting for that spot for a bit now. But yeah, I'm excited to get this started and bring some cool insight to the podcast from the game.
Krasy.
Hi, I'm Krasy. I've been in the NetPlay scene a bit longer than Remke, about like 6 months, and like he said, we're pretty much in a fight for number 1 right now. I've just been grinding NetPlay a lot, and I've been like getting to know everyone in the community, and I'm here on this podcast just to, like Remke said, kind of similar to him, just like kind of give my 2 cents from one of the better players in the community.
All right, and finally, Clutch.
Yeah, hi everyone, it's Clutch1908. You can just call me Clutch. I've been in the community since the end of February. I was probably the hottest new net player till Remke came around and stole my thunder. But in terms of what I do, I try and play at a high level. I like doing some content creation too, like dabbling in some tech work too. So I'm just kind of all over the place and just having a good time.
All right, that was introductions for everyone here at the podcast. This name isn't very settled in stone. If you have any ideas for names that aren't bland like the MSSB podcast, leave them in the comments below. We'll be taking anything. If it's cool, we will shout you out. But hey, we're going to get this episode started, episode number 1, with a little bit of a recap. So we're going to start of this weekly recap. We're going to be doing Charge to the Mound on 6-2. Krasy beating Cactus 2-1. We'll go over Krasy. You played there. What went on?
So we were playing on wacky stadiums. I want to say we played on like Wario Palace, DK Jungle, Gario Stadium, and Peach's Garden. And it was a hard-fought set. We played Bro League, which is basically just playing with all 3 bros. It was a lot of fun. It was a more casual kind of best of 3, and I ended up winning 2-1, like you said, taking the first game, losing the second, actually getting mercied in the second, and then winning the third.
Well, you're right, Gariel Stadium, that's like Cactus's main shebang.
Mm-hmm.
But like, did that really mean anything to you? Was that like I gotta really try here? Was it a definite mute moment or?
There might have been a couple definite mute moments in there, but nothing too serious.
Just a for fun thing, just having a little bit of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Hey.
Got the $20, which is always nice.
Shout out to Riley, that shit's fun. Anyone else have any input on that?
Yeah. No, did Cactus beat you on Gariel Stadium?
Yeah, he mercied me
Oh,
on
man.
Dingus Stadium. Yeah, I mean,
That's his
We've
home
never allowed to do
territory.
advantage.
yeah, that's how it goes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
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 No, I know we're gonna talk more about it later, but I mean all 3 Charge to the Mountain so far have like had a different flavor, and so even though it's been crazy every time coming out on top, I think it's been really cool to see how different it's been each week, and so I hope that continues. Hats off to Riley for producing that, and the people that have been on the undercards and in the main event.
Yeah, I love that. I love that event. Very good thing to tune into.
Super fun.
Anything else to add to this part?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's an awesome event. It's our first sponsored event as well, too, which is like exciting because a year ago, if you told us, us old heads in the community that like, oh, we're gonna start have sponsored events on Twitch and everything, we're gonna get it like almost 100 people are gonna tune in, we'd be like, no, like that's not gonna happen. But here we are. It's really crazy. I mean, hats off to him for getting that all organized. It's a fun event.
It's really hard to do, finding sponsors.
Yeah.
And it's so cool seeing like just how far this community has come in such a short amount of time. It's just, not even a year ago, there was probably 300 people in the Discord, 400 people in the Discord. Yeah. And now we've expanded tenfold, and we have sponsored events. We had a $400 prize pool. Like things have really taken off. It's been really awesome.
You know what's crazy? I was looking earlier at my old Reddit guide that I posted on Christmas. So couple months ago, like not too long ago, and in the post it said, here's a link to our Discord. It has over 800 members, and then we passed 3,000 like not too long ago. It's crazy how fast the growth has been.
Wow, that's actually insane. And just to think, like I joined when like NetPlay Superstars 9 was really big. I think I joined after 8, and then 9 was like the big thing, and that one hit 100 viewers, and I thought that was like peak what we're gonna be like. Not to be mean or anything, but that was peak. Like we wouldn't surpass any of that. And now we have events that are like very like just a weekly thing, like rallies that surpass like 80 to 100 viewers, and it's sponsored. It's just super insane. Like there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many ideas of people now. I know people are putting a bunch of ideas in now. I just can't wait to see what happens. So many new game modes coming up too. Very, very, very nice.
I think all the ingredients are there in the community. Like it's all just waiting to be discovered and expand.
Just gotta discover
for sure.
Discover all the ingredients, make a meal. Combine them all together. So
find the chef.
Yeah, find the chef indeed. Anything else to add? Anyone?
I was just thinking. I know the Action vid was very huge for increasing the player base, but I think more importantly, it brought people with different skills in the community. And I'm sure Cokes and Joe can talk to this more, but like obviously because of that influx, we got Raviannn, who has upped the production game so much in this community. And I'm sure everyone knows that. I don't know if Remke came in through that video, but like that's another top player. Like I said, I came in through that video right around that time, and so I think not even did we have a ton of growth in the community in the last few months, but I think we just the community kind of got lucky and got some really cool. And there's people that haven't even like hit like the top level of notoriety that are like super. There's a lot of smaller people right now that are like just for fun starting to stream things. We've created triple play from some new people recently. I know because of the new influx, Ducky went for a NetPlay Classic League, which has been really cool. So I think it's just like I said, a lot of the ingredients, and I think it made people start thinking about what more we can do, and so I think it inspired a lot of things, which has been really cool to see.
Yeah, and even and Roaming, who is a huge name in the modding scene, he came through the Action Esports video, and he doesn't even play this game. He said that he has probably played this game for 10 hours in his entire life, but he's going crazy in the modding scene. I'm sure Cokes knows more about them than I do, but it's really cool to see. And that video was such like a big thing for us, because I remember when they contacted us about that, they were like, we want to make a video about Mario Baseball, and they did an interview with Nick from Dinger City and one with Peacock Slayer, and then it was like radio silence for a couple months, and we were like, I guess they scrapped it, like they're not interested, whatever. And then just randomly out of nowhere, they're like, we're dropping this video tomorrow, by the way. And we freaked out, man. We had to prep the Discord. We got a bunch of new moderators in the Discord too, like right before that, for that. So it was a huge deal, and it's really, I mean, it's made huge waves in our community. It's been really awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the best parts about this community is that there's pretty much a spot for anyone. I feel like there are people who play on net play, there are content creators, there are people who mod the game like you were talking about. And I feel like even us six are a really good microcosm. I feel like we have a lot of different like people who do different things in the community, and we all benefit from it and have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, like we said earlier, there's so much to be explored still. It's brand new. And I know that's relevant for the game, for the content creation, for everything else. So if you're watching this right now and you want to get into it, perfect time to start. All right, I'm going to move on to the next topic we have, Spring Series Finals. We have the winner, the named #1 Mario baseball player, Remke, winning that tournament, taking down top names like Mr. Joe, Cheeky, Krasy, and Hell's Hero. Just a very good run from you, going undefeated there. Since you're here, we're going to talk about that. How was that?
Yeah, it was a great tournament series from Mr. Joe. Great idea to do kind of like a, almost like a league style tournament series and finish it out with the finals. A lot of good players in that finals. And it was a tough road. I mean, the game against Mr. Joe was definitely at least my favorite game of the tournament. I know Mr. Joe doesn't feel the same. I know Mr. Joe doesn't feel the same way. For those that aren't familiar, it was Mr. Joe winning the game 9-2 going into the bottom of the 8th inning.
Brutal.
Ending with me winning 10-9.
Off one of the worst Mario Fireball bobbles you've ever seen in your life.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
It was brutal.
It was sliced though.
It was nice, man. It was
but yeah, it was a great tournament, and that was a great spectator game, I'm sure, as a third party. But yeah, and then Hell's making an absolutely insane losers run was pretty cool too. I mean, he took down Cactus, Krasy, a whole host of people after losing in round one. Not just losing, he got mercied in round one. Then went all the way through losers side to grand finals. So that was a pretty impressive losers run there.
Yeah, he went through a really impressive cast of players, like you were saying. Cactus, myself, Jason from Dinger City, JK. I think Cheeky as well. You said, right?
Yeah.
So really, and then Krasy in losers finals. So
yeah, and the game against Cactus was like for 9th place. I'm pretty sure Cactus got 9th because he lost to Hells. Cactus got double eliminated by Krasy and Hells and got 9th place. That is tough. That is tough. But yeah, it was a great tournament series. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed that tournament. Obviously, winning helps your enjoyment of a tournament.
Yeah.
I think Remke, you kind of mentioned it about, Cactus got 9th because he lost to Hells and Krasy early. I think that, at least since I've been in the community, I think that's the first tournament that it was all big names in the top cut heading to the finals because we did 4 beforehand. As fun as surprise people making top cut in MPSS is, I absolutely adore that. I love those stories. Pool's craziness does really well. I did a whole video recapping 10. And it's fun looking at the people that do upsets, but I think it's also really cool when there are some events that have only top names in the top 16. The other big one would have been Balter's Big Bucket of Cash can't make a Discord thread tournament. I think those two events were really cool. And so I hope we keep getting some of those. Like I said, enough events where there's kind of open entry and it's kind of anyone's game. And then the ones where we really consolidate the top talent, the top names that are really visible, because both types of tournaments are really entertaining.
Yeah, the invite-only Summit-esque tournaments are always really neat.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, too. We have we have another one brewing. It's gonna be we had it planned originally. The Dinger City Invitational was supposed to happen around now. Actually, it was supposed to happen around this time. but we had to push it back because of scheduling. The spring series happened then, and obviously like that was a huge thing, so it wasn't going to happen at the same time. But we're gearing back up for it. It's going to be every single player who's ever won a Netplay Superstars, and probably Remke also, and then a bunch of guys from Dinger City. It's going to be awesome. We're planning that probably for August. So that's
Super
that's
excited
something
about that one.
for. Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's gonna be anything as good as Spring Series, I have a lot of high hopes. That's gonna be amazing.
I hope so, man.
I think that's gonna break the viewer count that we've ever seen. That's pushing limits there. Like, ooh, that better be like. I hope everyone watches that because it's gonna.
I hope so, man.
Because that's
combining the net player and the Dinger City audiences will be great.
Absolutely.
Getting every this is like the top of the top. Like this is what you want to see. This is the big house. Okay.
We're even getting Matty Ice.
Yeah, Matty Ice is not working. No baseball. He's gonna play Mario Baseball. So I'm ready.
That's right.
I'm super hyped.
Yeah, the storyline for that event is great too. It's we get our best net players, we get our best Dinger City players. Who's better, Dinger City or the net players?
It's nice to it's nice that this is happening kind of now because I think a lot of the guys like me and Jason included have really proved that we can hang with like the top dogs in net play. Well, for a while it was like Dinger City, we didn't play on net play. We were just we played locally, and then there were the net players, and it was just like who's better, and it was kind of just a situation where everyone would call us out like if you're gonna play online, and we were like, well, online sucks right now. Online doesn't suck anymore, so now it's nice and we can play. And
thanks, Cokes.
Yeah,
No problem.
really awesome work from the Project Rio team, and it's nice that we're able to we're able to show that we can hang with the top dogs. So it's going to be a really fun event.
Yeah, some like community history too. Like before Rio and when the online was not great. Obviously Dinger City wasn't playing as much net play. Because you have all the offline play you want, you have a whole group of people you could play with. So why would you play in like horrible online laggy, blah blah blah? And also, net play community is pretty small. But because of that, we had two separate you had your net players, you had your Dinger City, your online, your offline players, and then Dinger City video would go up, and people in the Discord would be talking about it, and they say, Jason did this really suboptimal thing, or Nick drafted a bad team. Like the net players would have done this, and then it always started brewing up this oh yeah, the Dinger City guys, their meta sucks. Like the net players are so much better. They would destroy Dinger City, and it started brewing up this thing. So I don't know if anyone new to the community is kind of familiar with that. It's not you don't see as much in the Discord anymore because Dinger City has been playing net play, but at least for me, this is why this Dinger City Invitational is really exciting because this whole storyline from the early days of the community is finally, it finally gets this big event, its final showdown, like Dinger City versus net players.
Yeah. I'm super excited for that. All right, we got to move on here. We got to save some time for the rest of the stuff we got going on.
Yeah.
So 6-5, Remke versus Dila. In a best of 5 for Dila's first ever online net play matches. Remke did win that series 3-0. Remke, how did you feel going into that game?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, Dila has a bit of a following on Twitter. He is a former Smash 4 / Ultimate player, got a pretty big following, I believe, out of New Jersey. I think he said he was like number 3 in New Jersey in Smash 4 at one point. So a pretty good Smash player. And he had been tweeting, he came across some videos. I think it initially was Dinger City videos. And he tweeted a lot about how he thought he was leagues above all the net players, every video he's seen, every tournament he's watched. And so we had to give him a bit of a call out. We said we've got a big community. We've got a great net play server. Thank you, Cokes. We've got a lot of really good players. And we said, if you're going to talk the talk, come walk the walk. And he accepted the challenge, which, kudos to him. Now, a little bit less kudos to him. In the first best of 5, I got him 3-0. I believe the games were 7-1, 11-1, and 15-2, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right. I think you outscored him 33-4.
Yeah, something like that. He, don't get me wrong, he was a good player. The first game, I think it was like 2-1 going into the ninth inning. And then I scored 5 runs in the ninth inning. But he played differently from just about anyone that I've played against in the net play server. And I think he definitely has potential to be one of the top players in Mario Superstar Baseball. I think only playing against his brother for his entire baseball career, he obviously doesn't quite know as much of the tech as an entire community can figure out. But so I would say he's a great player, but he's about 6 months behind, like meta wise. But if he can, I have full confidence that he can learn that stuff pretty quickly, pick up on drafting, tech, meta strategies, and be a serious contender in this game.
Yeah, and Dill he's not new to the Mario Baseball Discord at all. Actually, he was one of like the OG members. I think he was like one of the first 50 people in the Discord. So
wow.
he was around for a while, and then I think he kind of dropped off for a bit, and he didn't really pay attention. But then he's recently kind of come back, and I think this rivalry has been sparked up, and like this kind of feud between the people in the Discord and him on Twitter and stuff like that. And a lot of people were like, we're talking smack and stuff like that. But it honestly, kudos to him for showing up to the matches. And he like you said, he has potential, and he has solid fundamentals. He just needs to catch up to where everyone's playing right now, and he has potential to be a great player. It's just it's a lot to proclaim yourself the undisputed number one player in the world when you have played against one other human being in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done a fair amount of trash talk with him, both online and on server, and in Krazy's Charge the Mound best of 3 against him. But he's taken the losses with grace. I can respect anyone that takes a good loss with grace. He seems dedicated to being a good player, and I can respect that big time.
Yeah, and I think one thing that your win kind of signifies, you said that he's a tiny bit behind the meta. I feel like you beating him kind of like shows that in the Discord server we really have like found very close to the true meta of Mario Baseball, and like who's actually good and who's bad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's still new strategies and discoveries being made. Like a particular controversial tech that was discovered by Krazy, Nude Cactus, and Cheeky that was dubbed Dingus bunting. Krazy, why don't you give us a good old explanation of what exactly Dingus bunting is?
All right, so Dingus bunting, I think me and Cactus found this playing a game of 9 Paragoombas versus 9 Goombas. That's kind of the reason why it's called Dingus bunting. And what you do is you hold that bunt with obviously the B button, and then as the pitch is coming, you pull it back. And when you hit it, the third baseman and first baseman are basically in a position prepped for the bunt closer to the base, which if you slap hit, puts them in a more disadvantageous spot to catch the ball if it comes to them. And it really can help with 4 or 5 hits a game that go towards that side, especially if you're pushing the ball with slap hitters.
All right.
And it sucks.
It does suck. Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
The biggest point of contention, I think, is that there is no counterplay. Anything that's discovered that doesn't have any form of counterplay, I think is not great for a community. But whenever there's new tech discovered, it's tough because it's either going to be a defensive tech or an offensive tech. And there's going to be this balance forever in the meta of, is offense too good? Is defense too good? Right now, I think we're in a good spot. I think Dingus bunting might put offense a bit over the edge, but that's a discussion we're having and a fix that we might have coming soon.
We actually over at Dinger City, we've already implemented the patch, if you will, to Dingus bunting. We played a few games with it, and I have to say, it makes the game more fun already. I almost forgot, because the thing is, it's not even that, it's hard to do. It's not even that, only certain characters can do it or whatever. Everyone can do it. It's pretty easy to do, so you can pick up on it. And I think that's kind of the problem. It's just like, this is a kind of annoying thing that I have as a batter have to do, and that you as a defender are not able to do anything about. So it just feels like, when there's no known counterplay, and there's really like no reason not to do it. There's no downside or very little downside. It feels as though it's something that we were better off without, and overall it's a better experience, I think, personally, playing without it.
Yeah, while we're already here, let's just keep talking about the Dingus bunt, because we've already are bringing it up. So Cokes, I've heard since Joe just said that you've already made a patch for it.
Yeah. I was gonna mention before too. It's a nice system we have, for the Rio team, where we make a mod, we make a gecko code or something like that, and then we send it on over to Dinger City to be our guinea pigs, and they let us know if it works or not. So it's a nice system.
It works.
Yeah, it works so far. But yeah, so I went ahead and made a mod, a gecko code that patches it out in an interesting way. So the whole reason that Dingus bunt works is because the corner baseman, the first and third base, move in when you're holding bunt. And so the mod I made is that the corner basemen do not move in when you hold bunt unless the pitcher is holding down the Z button. So it still gives the option to the pitcher. The corner baseman moving in can be beneficial when there's an actual bunt attempt, because if they bunt, let's say, down the third base line, the third baseman's closer to the ball and can field the bunt faster and make the play. Whereas if they're all the way on the bag, third base, they might not get there in time. So you still have the option as the pitcher, if you actually think it's a real bunt attempt, you can hold Z and get your runners in, but you also run the risk of it being a Dingus bunt, and they get a good hit off. So that's what the patch is right now. I've had a couple other versions and a couple other ideas in mind on how to handle it, but that's the current version that people are like and say works the best for them. Yeah, that's the basic gist of it.
Okay, I have a question about it. When you hold Z to bring the fielders in, is there a cutoff point where they stopped coming in? Like, is there only a certain distance you can bring them in?
Yeah. Actually, normally when you hold like in the vanilla game, when they move in on a bunt, they do stop at a certain point. You can test this if you throw like a changeup, so the ball goes really slowly, and you're holding bunt the entire time. Eventually, they will stop. They will move as all the way in. So I didn't change how far they move in. It's just the holding Z thing.
Gotcha.
I did make a version of the code where they can move in as far as they want, and it was really stupid because if you threw a changeup, they just move all the way in, and let's say it was a bunt, the third baseman, the first baseman would basically be like right by home plate, and they would just pick up the ball and tag you. It's kind of dumb.
It's kind of funny.
I bet
like
with
Anthony
Magic
Rizzo
Koopa,
trying to field bunts.
yeah. Dude, I bet if you had Magic Koopa and he was up that far, he'd probably just catch a line drive right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Dingus bunting is interesting. I've tried to theory craft ways to get around it. Haven't really tested it much. I don't get much time to play these days. But I don't know. People keep telling me that's annoying, so I'm just like, yeah, I'll take your word for it, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad we've given it a week or two to just kind of sit and see what people think, because I think banning anything or letting something go just immediately already making a decision is always a bad thing. But I feel like we've handled it well.
Yeah, because if you just start banning stuff, the meta, without giving it a chance, at least the meta just won't really move anywhere. If we just, I don't know. if we just decide that slicing was too broken the first day it was discovered and banned it, or we made a mod to fix it or whatever, then like the Luigi stars wouldn't be as good, and or like Diddy Kong slice star like just wouldn't exist, and there would just be no reason to go for it anymore.
Yeah.
So
And I think a major difference between Dingus bunting and slicing is kind of hype. Like,
It is
obviously not
Yeah.
if like you're the one on the receiving end multiple times a game.
Yeah.
But like, it's if you're in a clutch spot and you've got Birdo up to the plate, like bases loaded, and you nail a sliced egg, and like that's a hype moment. However,
But it's
Dingus
hard.
bunting, just pulling players up and getting them out of position and hitting the ball slightly over their head or getting a really weird fielder swap, that's not hype. That's just like a hit that you're like, oh, I couldn't do anything about that, and that kind of sucked and it didn't look cool.
And when
Imagine
it
a
comes
sour spot boo that just does the little curve right behind the plate on
Yup.
third base and rolls all the
Yup.
way to the wall, and it's like, well, what am I? It's a double on the weakest hit ball in Mario baseball history.
Yeah.
Like that's what Boo's doing
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah.
And also, when you think about it, like Dingus bunting is abusing the fielder AI that we have no control over,
Right.
and the pretty much the entire reason that manual fielder select was created was to avoid manipulating the fielder AI that glitch bunting did, where you couldn't get your pitcher on a bunt or anything like that. So the fact that we had this entire code written, this modification made just to solve one AI manipulation problem, it feels like this new AI manipulation problem should probably be a pretty easy decision to make. But I do agree that it was a good idea to we sat on it. We said, you know what, we'll play with it for a bit. We'll see what happens. And it feels like almost everybody is on the same page. There are some holdouts that are like, leave it. But for the most part, it seems like everyone's like, we don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
as I was gonna say, I think life is too short to deal with these problems if we don't have to.
Life's too short to
So,
Dingus bunt, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's like, why? Like, if no one's having fun with it, like, why bother, right? We're all at the end of the day, like, no one's making a living off this game, really. Like, it's not like a big e-sport. We don't have sponsors except for Fremont to impress. So, it's like we're just here to have fun at the end of the day. We're just here to enjoy ourselves, to share our enjoyment of Mario Baseball. So it's like, we should be maximizing enjoyment at the end of the day while still keeping it competitive.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
Remke and Krasny, I mean, we hang out enough in Discord and things like that. They can attest that I might be one of the biggest Dingus bunt defenders, and one of the people that benefited the most from the tech in terms of how many more hits a game I was getting, just because it fits my playstyle perfectly. I said the whole time, I will not openly ask for it to be banned, but I will not stand in its way because I had fun with it, but I understand why other people weren't, and I would rather. I mean, I started channeling myself out of it against certain players. I only pulled it out when I was either down or against top players or things like that in the past 4 or 5 days. And I think the moment that made me realize that it needed to be banned, and I was finally went from I'm just gonna let it happen to let's start pushing it. It's when Dila finished his set with Krasny's, or finished his sets with Remke and said, "Can we ban this for Charge the Mound?" or "Can we get rid of this?" And that made me realize, I'm this is so far out from vanilla play that someone that just started playing is already frustrated by it after 5 games. They're not like, I don't want to learn this. I don't want to. It's just not fun. And so, and I guess I also want to say I think it fits in a little bit for a little background knowledge. I played a lot of competitive 2K. 2K devs suck. They don't push patches. They don't do anything. And so there's broken tech in those games every year that stay for 3-4 months. And you just have to get really good at it and just deal with it. And one day they say, okay, we're going to patch it out. We heard enough whining. And then some of these players that really benefit from it, they become nobodies again. And so I want to give props to, our dev team for being so close to the community that, we let it sit, but as soon as we realize that it's not healthy for our competitive environment, healthy for the enjoyment of our players, it's gone, and we start addressing it. And so, in terms of what it means now, I like the discussion we've had in the Discord and here and everything, but more importantly, I think setting the precedent and how we handle these things. I love how we're doing as a community, and so I think that was a really important lesson for us because like we said, we're still growing, and so any chance we get a time to learn something is really impactful.
All right, we spent a little too much on the Dingus Bunt. A little bit.
I'm sure people have heard enough.
Dingus
So
It is a contentious
All right,
topic.
this just in, Dingus
big.
Bunt things out. Get it out of here.
It is a
Yeah,
big
it's pretty
thing,
much
so
out.
I'm glad we spent this much time on it. But we gotta move on here. We only have a limited time
Let's
left.
move it.
We have 2 more things in the weekly roundup here. They're both on 6-7. We have Matt and Poke doing a little bit of a money match. This is Matt's big comeback into the community, taking a little bit of a break from the community for about a month or so, doing school, and I think he was doing actual baseball versus high school.
Yeah.
So I mean that takes precedent over video games, but he did versus Poke. I don't know what the beef was about. I know I streamed it. That's all I knew. And Poke took down Matt 3-0 there and won $100, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah, that
So-
is crazy.
I just, from my perspective on this, what happened was I hopped into, I heard there was some smack being talked in matchmaking net play, and I hop in, and Matt's like, I'm a top 10 player, and Remke's like, LOL, like, play me right now.
Cap.
And Matt was talking a bunch of, cap. Matt was talking a bunch of smack, and I was like, all right, whatever. And I continued scrolling through Discord elsewhere, like half an hour, I come back. I was like, oh, I wonder what happened there. I hop into the ranked bot channel. I scroll up a little bit, and it's like, oh, Remke, submit 17-0, Matt.
Damn,
So
I
I
was
saw
17-1.
that.
Give him his one run.
No, it's
Wow.
0, man.
17.
It was
It was
0.
17-0. It
Yeah.
was
Oh
17-0.
gosh, I thought it wasn't as bad as that.
Yeah, so I
With
saw
the
that.
Wario Grand Slam.
Yeah, man. I saw that and I was like, oh, Matt, not like this, man. Because Matt's a good player. He played. He got third in Netplay Superstars 9, I want to say.
It was 9, yeah.
And he played really well. He put me in the dirt that game, and I think he put Hells in the dirt too, possibly.
Mhm.
So he played great, but he took a break. The meta has advanced. Remke's gotten extremely good in that time, and he got his ass kicked. And then he continued to talk smack, and he's talked to Poke Bunny, who is a very good player. Poke Bunny in the top 10, who's been playing very well lately, especially. And he just like, it's what can you do? And he got his ass kicked, and he put. But I will say one thing, he put $100 up on the line. He didn't back down from it, and you can respect that at least. But I'm pretty sure it was a 3-0, and besides the first game, which was amazing, I think it was pretty dominant.
Yeah, the first game was what was it? 14 innings, I think.
Yeah.
14 innings, and it was like 2-2 or 3-3 or something like that. It was like super low scoring until Poke finally broke it open. And then the second and third game, were both pretty dominant from Poke. But yeah, from someone that was directly involved in the Matt beef, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. And you know what? He did again. He put himself out there. He played the games. Good for him. But he did get smacked up a bit. So
Matt is a special player in the sense that I think he's still top 20 on the leaderboard, and has a 45% win percentage. He loses more games than he wins.
Grinds top players, man.
He grinds top players, and so and also more importantly, I think he just gets hot. There is two versions of Matt, and there's not, there's some players that are like, obviously they're on or they're off. Matt is two completely different people in my book, whether he's on or off. And I said going to that series, I'm like, Matt is cold. He hasn't played enough. He's played a couple games, and I saw like the Remke game. And then Poke was, I think, on 15 in a row at that point or something like that.
Yeah.
And
on a tear.
So you don't come off and stop someone like that. So I said before the series it was going to be a 3-0 easy. Game 1 shocked me. And then I think it just goes to show how crushing it is to lose in extras. The rest of like I said, we saw how the rest of the series went. So I'm hoping this is his coming out for walking it back up, because I think a cocky Matt with the results to back it up, I think is a fun character in this community. And he's, like I said, he's a good player. He's a fine guy to be around. So I hope he comes back and he gets going again, because he's another player that I like playing against. So.
All right, we gotta move on from this one. Same day 6-7, Krasy and Dila verse on Charge the Mound. Krasy does take down Dila 2-0. Krasy, how did those games go for you?
First off, they were really fun games. That's actually some of the most fun I've had playing this game in a little while. And my first impressions, like through the first like half of the first game, was just thinking about how much better he was than I thought he was going to be. Like when you hear a guy saying that he's the best with nothing to back it up, you almost think he's going to be worse than like even someone else, because it almost kind of feels like a troll at some point. Like not even he thinks that. So I definitely was surprised, but I was able to turn it back around in game one. I think I was down until like the 7th or 8th inning or something like that. So I definitely had to work to win that one. And then he had me in a tough spot in game two. So if a couple things change, I mean, he definitely could have won either one. But really fun set, really good showing, and he was extremely humble in defeat, just like the Remke show match.
Yeah, I know it is kind of a meme to say, but it was genuinely a close 2-0. It was the two games were really good from a spectator perspective. And you know, he had Krasy kind of like on the edge of his seat, I'm sure. As he said, they were close games. Dilo was ahead for a good amount of the game, and I'm pretty sure he had a Wario perfect homer. He had a couple other just like good plays, and I was like, oh wow, this guy. I mean, he does know what he's doing. Like he can certainly play. But again, just few months behind in meta and gotta make up that ground. And I think it really showed, especially against Krasy, with the one and only Pink Menace at the plate. And I think Pink Menace got on base every time he was at bat because he didn't really know what Falcon Pop was. And he was pitching with Waluigi inside, like over the like center of the plate to inside of the plate, right where PM wants to have it, right where he wants to hit the ball. And you just can't do that against that character. But once he figures out that counterplay, once he figures out a few other things, really think he's a threat in this community.
Mm-hmm. And I think some of those things that he's not really familiar with are like those minute things that kind of separate the top players from
absolutely
other people, like Falcon Pop and like manual fielder select tech. Like he's never played with manual fielder select before, and so that's kind of a big. Even though he probably understands the concept, like you have to play a lot with it to get good with it. And
you still have to execute.
Yeah, almost every top player is good with it, and so that's just going to come with time. And I really do think he can get better at it and become one of the best.
What's funny about?
Go ahead, folks.
I was gonna say what's funny about what Krasy was saying before about guy comes in saying he's the best in the world. You almost think he's worse than he was before. Joey can attest to this too. This has been the theme for the entirety of this community. Back when I joined, when the Discord was like 100 people or whatever, someone joins and say, "Oh yeah, I just heard there's a community, and this is awesome. I'm definitely one of the best in the world. Me and my brother have been playing for 15 years, for however long. Like we think we're just absolutely the best." And then they try out net play, and it's like
smacked.
17-0. It's just bad, yeah.
And I will say, man, people have gotten a little better with that because people are watching us play more now, and people are seeing that we have a community. Because before it was mostly, people were finding the Discord through Dinger City because it's like originally at least it was the Dinger City Discord, and while it still kind of is, it's evolved and it's the Mario Baseball Discord now. But that was what it was originally, and people would join in and be like, "Oh, I'm better than you guys. You guys suck." But now it's like, oh, you guys play competitively, you have tournaments, you have a community, and people will come and be like, I'm excited to get into it, rather than like, me and my brother are the best players in the world, by the way. So that's a nice change of pace, at least.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the community's gotten a lot more mature on what's going on now. It just took some time to like figure out, hey, we have to establish a professional atmosphere first, and then we'll get professional comments coming out of it. So it definitely evolved in the right way. Everything you guys have been doing on the administrator side has been working out good. I feel like we've raised a good community so far. Shout out to everyone that's been doing that.
Absolutely.
All right, that does it for the weekly roundup. We're going to be heading into some discussion questions. We have about, I'd say, 15 minutes left, or we can go a little bit over, about like an hour or 10 minutes, since we did do a little bit of introduction. So to start off, I want to do some discoveries that we've had through this net play ranked season. I know I'm not the biggest net player myself, but I know a lot of you guys here are. What are some things that we've discovered this season that really benefited people rising in the community?
Is Falcon Pop this season?
I think it is.
It might be.
I think it might.
I mean, look, man. I don't know if it benefited anyone specifically, but that's one of the biggest tech discoveries that we've had in a long time. Besides, I guess Dingus bunting, but
Yeah.
But it has
nothing.
been,
Yeah.
It's just been huge for the meta. A lot of characters are getting time that they would have not seen. Shy Guy, stuff like that, and Pianta even rising a little further. So it's really cool to see some shakeups in the meta, some new tech that brings some light to characters that didn't have it before.
Yeah, and if nothing else, it makes Classic a lot of fun to watch because it makes so many more hitters viable.
Absolutely.
You got the rise of Ronald. You got Shy Guys. You got Toads that are actually, not just all drafted last now. Even a Dry Bones. So many characters that can do this.
Red Madge,
right?
Yeah.
Our favorite Falcon Popper. But it's such a neat discovery, and it really makes a lot more characters. It closes the gap of top competitively viable characters to the unplayable characters. At least for competitive play. And now if you really like Shy Guy, his bat, and Falcon Pop, he's a viable pick for 9th. He's a viable pick for the 9th guy on your team, especially if you have Birdo for that chemistry. But yeah, it's a really cool discovery.
What I think is great about it too is you guys were mentioning this before. It's mostly on characters who weren't commonly picked before the discovery. You have your exceptions. PM has Falcon Pop. Obviously, he was meta beforehand, but like Shy Guy, Koopa, Toad, Red Dry Bones, like characters who weren't normally getting picked can now all of a sudden use this new tech and become big threats. So that reason it's a great addition to the meta. And also the fact that it's a very interesting tech because it's still a two-sided game. It's not like, oh, you Falcon Pop and you get on base every single time, and that's all you have to do, because you still have to hit the ball and you have to make specific contact on the bat, and the pitcher is aware of that, and they're not always going to give you the perfect pitch, and you have to keep that in mind as a batter. Do I burn a star and go for it, or do I think they're going inside, outside? What did it do? So there's still a mental game behind it. There's still a lot of counterplay. It's a really interesting mechanic. I wish it was a little bit stronger than it already is, but I really, it's really refreshing seeing that getting discovered, being like, wow, all these new characters are now viable, and there's another cool mental game that has been added to the game. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think Falcon Pop, was discovered right before I joined, but people were still figuring out, like, the drafting, like, how do you change where you draft characters? Like, I think when I first jumped in, like, PM was going as high as, like, 10 or 11. Now I think PM's down towards, like, 13, 14 again. Kind of has fallen off a little bit. I think everyone was like, people were still like, wait, how do I Falcon Pop? So people were still figuring out how to pitch to it. We talked about there is some counterplay. I think people were just kind of like, I'm going to pitch to PM normally, and that just led to a Falcon Pop, and everyone realized, oh, if PM goes all the way towards the plate, he can literally hit inside sour from the right side of the strike zone to the left side of the strike zone. Like, it covers the whole plate. So I think what has been really cool is the evolution of hype, everyone see it, and then now we've kind of gotten to this, and I hope where it stays, because I think it's in a good spot right now, of there are some characters that are good for Falcon Pop, and there are still some characters that's more valuable to do line drive star. Like, for example, when I first joined, everyone was like, okay, Red Noki only, first base for PM Chem, because now they're both really good, do it there. And then I think people have gone back to now Green Noki's the better character because line drive star is more consistent than Noki Falcon Popping because it's a small enough sour spot. So I think it's been a long enough time that it's really evolved across the whole competitive season, and it's been really interesting to see.
All right.
Joey, I got really confused. I saw that tail like waving around. I was like, "What's going on over there?"
Special guest.
Like keep focus.
Special guest.
That's where we get all the viewers from the cat.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The people
Thumbnail.
love the cat.
Anything else other than the Dingus, Bunt, and Falcon Pop that's like new that we want to talk about?
It's not necessarily new, but I think that slicing has really kind of
Elevated.
become much more prominent now, and
Mhm.
especially considering two of the best players in the game, the top 2 ranked players in the game are sitting in this call with us right now. They're probably the 2 best at slicing, also. So I'm not saying that they're the best because they're the best at slicing, but they're the best at slicing because they're the best players in the game. So it's really good. It's really strong. It's hard to do, but we've seen that you can be consistent with it, which was the biggest question mark. It was like, can you be consistent with this 1 frame window? And when it comes to a character like Birdo, yes, because you don't really need to be frame perfect, because that frame 3 contact is sometimes better. Honestly, sometimes the frame 3 contact is better because a slice, usually you're not getting more than 2 bases if you're lucky. A lot of the times the slice will be a single because the center fielder can cut it off unless you have a good bounce. But when you get that frame 3, we're seeing triples off of that, not infrequently. So that's really cool.
That's why you don't see DK Banana Ball as much. Birdo slice that because the slice that everyone goes for is frame 2. The late swing, it's as late as possible that you can make contact. You can also slice by swinging very early, but that's a lot less consistent timing wise. But with Donkey Kong, with that late frame 2 slice, if you hit frame 3 instead, that thing's going foul. If you hit frame 4 instead, it is most likely going foul. And that's a big time waste of stars trying to hit that 1 frame window. If you do, I would say DK's slice is better than Birdo's slice.
Killer.
It is
double every time.
Yeah, it's a double every time. And that's why you see Birdo's so much more than Donkey Kong's, just because that frame 3, you have a leeway to work with. Cat moment. You have a little bit of cushioning there with the timing for Birdo's egg.
God damn it.
We love that cat.
Just knocked over
Mild
like
interruption.
a table.
Technical
Oh,
difficulties.
damn.
Nah.
It was like a TV tray table type of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not important.
Cat means business, man. Cat means business.
Yeah.
That's that cat's territory. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have another topic, RioWeb. It's getting very big right now. Cokes, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I was just gonna bring it up before too, because we're talking about frame 2 versus frame 3 Birdo egg. I don't remember. I feel like I remember seeing this in the Discord. Something that like the frame 2 Birdo egg was obviously landing way more. It's a slice, but frame 3 was much more likely to result in like a triple. Like the you got more doubles and triples going on frame 3, but you're also more likely for it to get caught by like third baseman Madge or something like that. But yeah, so RioWeb, as of the latest version of Rio, as of recording this, is 0.1.8. We're sending all of the stat files to a database, and you can now pull from the database. Peacock and John, 2 other Rio devs, done a lot of work setting this up, and you can type a link into your browser and just pull data from the database. And I don't even know what the number is right now. We have a lot of games in there. I wish I knew the number, but every time someone brings it up, I'm impressed by it. We have a ton of data, more than we know what to do with at this point, and people have been making a lot of interesting, graphs and heat maps and all of this, charts and everything like that. What is the average hit result if you're Luigi and you're holding right on the stick and you make contact on frame 7? We can tell you that now. It's really interesting. And obviously baseball, MLB baseball, regular baseball, everyone loves stats. You hear the most ridiculous stats of all time in baseball talk. And now we can pull up similar ridiculous stats in Mario Baseball. So it's really exciting stuff.
That's so funny. I can just imagine like you're watching a Mario Baseball broadcast, Birdo comes up and it's like batting 16 for 16 while holding right and getting sour left contact on frame 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And they make contact on frame 4, and
Yeah.
the commentator's like, rookie mistake.
That's what separates the top players from the high players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Weak. Yeah, I think RioWeb's
And
one of the biggest things that's ever came out of this community in like the past
it's
couple
amazing.
months. It's so educational. Clutch, what do you want to say?
Yeah.
I don't think some people understand how big it is yet.
Yeah.
Because the way that the depositories are set up and the endpoints are set up, you have to have a level of knowledge in database mining and things like that to understand how to access that data and how to find the filters you want and things like that. I'm sure one day, and I know some people are working on this right now. I know the Rio devs are working on this, but someday, instead of giving a callback that is just raw data, it's just going to be easily decipherable. It's going to be a lot more usable for a lower end user.
Mhm.
And so while there's some really great people like Vickless, who's doing the Tableau graphing right now of all those heat maps and everything like that, which has been so cool to see. I know Matt Green and myself and Maury, we've tried to get into some Python programming, Python scripts to go through the data right now. One day we're not going to need that, and I am so looking forward to that day. I know it's a long way away. I'm not trying to be like it's right around the corner. Come on, Rio devs, get it out. But I don't think some people understand how accessible this data is going to be right today. Now we have the data, which is the first step, and one day it's going to be super accessible, and I don't think people realize that yet, and how, I think I said it in the Discord one day where Peacock dropped one of the outputs from RioWeb, and it's just a blurb of text, and I think some people are like, oh, blurb of text, and I'm like, I don't think some people understand how huge this is. That it's being documented, and it can come back.
That it works.
So yeah, I think it's most importantly, this isn't just funny data of, like I said, 16 for 16 on sour frame 3s. Eventually this is going to change how we play the game.
It's
People are
anything
going
you
to
want to
learn
know, yeah.
exactly. And you're going to realize, I think more importantly, we always had character stats, but what do you do well? And I think people as players are going to start to split more, and they're going to be more diverse of those players are really good frame 3, frame 4 push hitter. This player is really good at pulling the ball out. I mean, we kind of know that from storytelling and visually seeing it, but soon the stats are going to back it up, and that's going to be such a hype moment for the community.
Yeah. To give a little bit more context, right now the development for RioWeb is still in the back end, so that's doing all the server and database stuff, the API, fancy words. That's still getting finished up, but once that's basically complete, you move on to the front end, which essentially means what do you see on your computer screen? You click on the website, what's being shown to you, and eventually it'll just, like Clutch was saying, it'll be just as easy as you go to the website, and there's a drop down box what stat do you want to see? Oh, Bowser. What do you want to see is let's see Bowser's OPS. Let's see Bowser's win rate in ranked mode for this season, and it can just tell you, and it'll be really easily accessible. And the second point too about personalized stuff, how you as a player play, is also I think it'll be really exciting, because you can notice tendencies in your play that you wouldn't have otherwise saw. You might notice oh wow, I thought I was really good with Wario, but I have a 100 batting average. I only get on base 10% of the time with Wario. Maybe I'm not as good. Just little details like that are also stuff that I'm looking forward to.
I think the whole community is as well. We're super I know myself. I look at that raw paste and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's overloading my brain. But once it gets to that point where hey, I click one button, boom, it shows me. That's gonna blow everything up, and I can't wait to see what we find tech wise from that. It'll definitely bring something. Definitely.
We have a joke amongst the Rio devs too that eventually arguments in the Discord, people are just gonna be citing the Rio database. Someone will start saying hey guys, I think Wario is better than PM, and then immediately the next response will be yeah, well, PM's got a higher win rate, and then it's just gonna spiral.
Is what it is, and you take it. But I mean, it's going to come down to personal skills at the same.
Yeah.
Who you better with. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I want to wrap that side up, and we have one more thing before we end it. The last topic. We're heading into an hour here. It's going to be where was it? Gotta figure this out. I just figured it out, and I lost it. Okay. Possible changes for the ranked game mode would be like the rule set. What do you guys want to change? If you did, do we think we should change anything for both stars on and off?
So I'll bring up something first, and something I have been pushing big time to a lot of people, and I think I've finally gotten some supporters on it. The concept of changing our draft style, our draft system. So currently we have what's called Nolan draft. It's 1-2-2-2 draft. First pick gets 1 pick. Every pick after that is 2 picks in a row, and it alternates. And you can change your captain to be whatever character you want, but Bowser has to be captain as a nerf to Bowser. I want to keep all those same rules, but change it to 1-2-1-1-1-1 drafting. Alternate 1 picks as opposed to 2 picks. I feel like this will make a lot of people pick the characters they like, as opposed to the characters that our draft meta determines as viable. Like for example, Bowser team with their second and third picks almost always right now goes Yoshi and Hammer Bro, or one of the bros. But now you have to choose. Do you want Bro for that offensive output, or do you want Yoshi for the defensive stops? Second player has to make some decisions. First player, you don't always have King Boo and Magic Koopa on the same team. You don't always have Boo and Birdo on the same team. You actually start to get these more unique teams and teams that better suit your own play style. And I think that'd be a really interesting meta shake. I think it will allow for a lot more variety in the games than what we see now.
And to add on to that, because this is something else that I want to see too, I guess, for people to understand the theory behind it. In terms of our tier list right now, there's a clear break from 8 to 9, which is King Boo to Madge on most people's tier list. And then there's a clear break from Madge 9 to 10. And currently that 9th pick is going to the first player. And we already think there might be a slight advantage to one. The numbers are like 55-45 win rate, but that's skewed in certain ways. We don't think it's huge without having a lot of data to really... I mean, we have a lot of data, but without really being able to break it down yet in the right way. By going 1-2-1-1, that 9th pick goes to second player instead. And so we're considering that the most valuable pick in the draft. I think right now in terms of like spacing from the rest of the draft. And so putting that with second player, we think is going to even it up. And I really like the idea of counter picking. And I really like, because there are times that I go against someone and I'm like, I have 2 picks here. If I don't pick this character here, they get a really good character that they're really comfortable with. But if I take them here, it's a huge overdraft and it hurts my team too much. And so instead of only like overdrafting 1 spot to do that, like that's a huge difference and a huge difference in calculation. And so I really hope it gains steam. I want to see it tested out before maybe it's implemented the ranked rule set more. I know there's been some, unranked shenanigans or people testing it out with like mock drafting, but I'd really like to see a solid set of whether it's a 1-day tournament or just deciding to try it out for like a week. Like everyone agrees to try it out for a week. I'd like to see the data coming back from it.
I have a question for you guys who are like super into this 1-2-1 idea, because I think it's cool and I definitely want to try it out. I'm not sold on it yet, but again, I want to try it. And I see new net player has joined us.
We love camera issues.
Oh Lord.
So do you guys think that this makes non-Bowser first pick unviable entirely? Because right now, obviously Bowser's the best first pick. There's no question. You should be first picking Bowser, but there is some credit to saying, you know what, I'm going to first pick DK. I'm going to first pick PD, something like that. You've seen that, and it has worked for people. But I think in a 1-2-1 world, where we go, say I go DK first, now you get Bowser and Bro, or Bowser and PD, and then the other team, they get the other one of Bro or PD. But now the Bowser team gets to go again, and they're going to have those two characters, and they're going to have Yoshi or Boo. And now I know, obviously, in this draft, it's like Bowser picks first, and then he ends up with Bro and one of those two anyway. But at least, at least it's skewed more in the way that I feel like the second player can still counter pick enough and get enough value out of that. But I feel like now if you're giving Bowser to the second pick, they're getting way more than you are.
Mm-hmm. I think that argument definitely has value. Like, first pick is kind of locked into Bowser, but I feel like, and I actually think I agree with you. I think it makes it a lot less viable. But I think in different parts of the draft, it's kind of a trade-off where, like, not necessarily that the first pick like gets a bigger advantage despite being locked into Bowser, but I think it's kind of just a trade-off to having more like options and like more comfort picks and like more like variety in the draft.
I think that's fair.
And I to completely to your point, Joe, I think, like I said, part of the reason that we're talking about changing the format is we feel that first pick is skewed a little bit in terms of power by sheer draft metrics logic because of how our meta is defined. So I think that's why DK first pick is viable, because even though I think everyone would agree DK is below Bowser, but giving DK a first pick line makes the DK team really good and gives it a little advantage that even though you take probably the worst character at 1, if it fits your plate, Jason. Jason is the one that does it.
Yeah, man.
And he's a really special DK player, and because of that, taking that first pick line, even though he goes DK, I think he has the advantage every time in that draft, even though he's not taking the best character in the game, Bowser, because he locks his opponent into Bowser Captain in a second pick line. It just works for him and his playstyle, and so I think that's definitely a valid concern. I'd be curious how that would play out, or if there was any other first picks that would open up if we went to a 1-2-1-1.
Worth trying, at least.
Yeah.
Anything for Stars On? I know we have some Stars On players in here. You think any rule changes? I know there's a big form that just came out during this time of the recording. Anything that you saw on that, if you guys did participate in it? I mean, myself being like a primarily Stars On player, only thing that I kind of wanted to see was kind of maybe a different draft style, change it up a little bit. Maybe change the innings. Maybe, I still like the 5-inning games, best of 3 series if possible. But like, is there anything else you guys wanted to see that was not even listed in there, or if it was listed?
I've got some opinions on Stars On, man. I'll let someone else go first, but I have beef with the Stars On rule set.
I mean, is it based around the amount of innings per game mostly?
Not mostly. There's. No. I wish we played more. I wish it was more. Yeah. I wish it was 7.
I think 5 innings is too short.
I think 7's perfect.
5 innings, like, it doesn't allow much for comebacks. It doesn't allow you to get momentum with the team you have. It's each play. Like, you see a lot of 1-0 games in Stars On, and you know what? That's all right. I love defensive games. There's a lot of strategy that goes into pitching and a lot of good plays that you'll see when it comes to defensive games. But I'm not a huge fan of only having 5 innings to get your team rolling in any form. And I think that generally favors defense. But with drafting, I mean, I kind of had the same sentiment as Stars Off drafting. I like 1-2-1-1. But yeah, Joe, what spicy takes do you have for the Stars On community?
Okay, so this isn't a huge deal. Turn the drop spots back on, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter.
It does. And
absolutely not.
People like you are weenie babies
that
can't catch a damn fly ball. What's wrong with you?
I am good at this game, so I can catch fly balls, but I think it's an unnecessary skill barrier. I'm not too hung up on it. That's not my main concern. My main concern is with the tournament rule set. We do best of 3s, which is great. It's actually, I prefer that strongly. However, the rule set that Stars On Showdown uses is poorly constructed so that if I win the coin flip game 1, and I get my pick, right? I get my pick of home, away, whatever. If I lose game 1, my opponent gets to pick now for game 2, which is wrong.
Yep.
The loser of the previous game should always get pick
Absolutely.
on the next game, because not only does that benefit, it gives you an advantage if you go to 3 games and you won the first game, which you should have, because you won first, you won in the in the clean head-to-head, and you didn't know what to expect, and it gives you a fighting chance. If you do lose game 1, you're not, you didn't lose game 1 and then you're put at a disadvantage because your opponent got their choice. That is my biggest problem with it, and I think that it is super necessary to address. And that was a part of that form that they set down, and that's great, awesome, cool. It needs to be implemented, though. I don't really care about the draft. Do 1-2-2, do 1-2-1. I don't care. Drop spots, again, I think it's an arbitrary skill barrier that just is unnecessary for new players. I'm not going to complain about it because I'm good at this game, so I can catch the ball without the drop spot. But I think it's unnecessary. And I mean, I think otherwise Starzon does a good job. I hit pop fly. You can't do anything about it. It's a part of the game. Live with it. But I think their best of 3 rule set is seriously bad. I think it needs adjusting immediately.
Funny that you bring it up, because that was in the form. It won the vote by a good margin. And Winkley kind of said oh, okay, I updated the rule set. So there you go.
It's done.
It's done.
Thank you for hearing my cries.
Yeah.
Everyone is with you, Joe.
Yeah, that's
it's a must. It's a must do. I understand not wanting to drop spots. It adds an element to the game. But the thing is, if you're good, you're going to drop a fly ball maybe 1 in 50 times. I don't drop playing Starzon. I don't drop fly balls very often. I once every now and then, very rare. But if you're new, it's hard. It's hard if you don't know about letting the fielder auto field on pop-ups. If you don't know about just dive for everything. If you're just not comfortable with the animation where they wave their hands. If you don't know that, this is putting a skill barrier on the format. And while it's already the kind of secondary format to Stars off, not because it's worse, just because it's less popular, I think that if it was more accessible, there would be more players for Stars on, and I think ultimately that's a more important thing. I don't think that drop spots off I don't think it's benefiting the format in any way, or at least not nearly as much as I think it's taking away from a new player base. But again, I mean, look, I'll play the game either way. I just think that I think it's an arbitrary skill barrier. I don't agree with it.
I think it's more of a nostalgic thing. I went into this.
That's fair.
The first thing I played, I think, was Stars off, and then I played I think I played for the whole week. Me and Alex Fickless Falcon played 2 games a day for a whole week. My first weekend just playing Stars on. I love Stars on because of that, and new net player strikes again.
New net player.
I love that, and I like the drop spots off. It got me a lot better at the game at the beginning. It's so funny. But I want to go back to the 5-inning thing. Cokes, talk to you about this. Net play, the classic league for Stars on. 5 innings. I know a lot of the times when I'm playing a 5-inning game, I come back in the 5th inning, and that's my time to come back. It's the bottom of the 5th. I have to do good there, or else I'm done. I can't have my first inning's really good, my 3rd inning's really good, my 5th inning's really good. I need that one more biting chance. I think the 7 innings perfectly fits Stars on, and I think we need to try it. Maybe not in the tournaments, or maybe in the tournaments and not in the normal ranked. Just try it somehow. I think that's one of the things that game mode needs.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, sorry, just real quick, Cokes. I honestly think that in tournament, especially in tournaments that are played over a week or multiple weeks, I think that 9-inning best of 3 is not unreasonable. Now, it becomes an issue when you go to your top 8s because those are live. So I get that being an issue, but for a tournament like Stars on Showdown that is played exclusively asynchronously, just play when you can play, I think that 9-inning best of 3 is fine.
Yeah. I think part of it too is that Stars on is currently filling in a weird niche that it's not really supposed to, I guess. Where because it's 5 innings, if you're looking to play like a quick game, if you don't want to, if you think 9 innings is a bit too long, you would rather play a shorter game, then you have to play Stars On. The only other option is to ping someone for Stars Off and say like, hey, can we just do 5 innings? But that's going to take a while to find a game, and eventually you've just wasted a bunch of time where you could just play the 9 inning game. But I digress. I think it's filling in a weird role where if you want to play shorter games, you play Stars On. If you'd rather like a longer game, you play Stars Off. So I think, like, I've talked about this in the Discord before with like Poke Bunny as well, where we have like, let's have a ladder with all random teams, random captains, and 5 innings, and then that'll be like you just find someone you play, random team, just go, right? 5 innings, just get it over with. You're just looking to play a casual, quick game. So I think like once something like that comes along, I think people will be more open to changing up the Stars On rule set to like 7 or 9 innings. I think part of the reason that's staying at 5 right now is because people like the best of 3 idea, and also because if you want to play shorter games, you just go to Stars On right now. I in general do like the idea though of separating some rules between tournament and ranked. Like, we were talking about drop spot before. I think drop spots on for ranked would be good, but you can keep them off for tournament. I think it kind of like satisfies everyone, right? A new player is much more likely to play ranked than they are tournament. So your tryhards can keep drop spots off in tournament, and then ranked mode where everyone plays, you can keep them on.
That's a totally good point. I love that. Let's turn off the drop spots in Stars Off tournaments. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll add
absolutely.
Look, man,
I Stars Off poll.
I think that if that were the route that we went down, where it was like, we're gonna do drop spots on and rank, drop spots off in tournament for Stars
I
Off.
love that.
Let's try it for Stars Off.
I think that might work. I think that
we're
might
gonna
work.
and we're gonna have a lot of tournaments running. I know Clutch, you guys, you and a few other people. I think maybe Poke Bunny have been talking about running a weekly. Over at Dingus City, we're gonna start running a monthly. So like, we're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. Why not try it? I think people are gonna be hesitant at first because it's like, why do you want to turn the drop spots off? We always play with drop spots. But if you rank drop spots on, tournament drop spots off, give it a higher level of intensity, I'm in. Makes Yoshi a little worse too.
Yeah. But I think the last argument for why drop spots on versus off versus like skill gap is I know for me as a hitter, I see a drop spot, I know immediately catch, no catch, do I think you're gonna die for it or not? I can predict with about a 99% certainty you are gonna dive here thinking you can get the ball and you are not gonna get the ball. And I don't think that's right. And for me as a fielder, I feel that that's the skill gap right now of, do you know if you can get to it or not? Because the drop spot is right there. So I think taking them off in a tournament setting, it's going to make things wild. I think is actually the more important part. I think it increases entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
It does nerf jump catches too.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's something.
You can argue
More bobbles is hype.
More bobbles
is hype for everyone except for the player.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Except the
True.
affected party.
Great.
I like it though. I think it's a fun idea. I think I'm definitely down to try it out.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for the first ever Mario Superstar Baseball podcast. Thanks for these 5 gentlemen coming in. We might see some people come in and out for these episodes. But hey, I just want to thank everyone for showing up here for the first episode. Hope everyone enjoyed the video that watched it. Please leave suggestions for the names down below. Give it a like, share it around. Post some ideas of what you want to see on the show. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap it up?
I got nothing, man. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thanks
really
for
cool
sticking.
stuff.
If you made it this far. If you made it this far, leave
really awesome if you're still here.
Yeah.
Leave your comments, subscribe, and I personally promise to respond to every comment this week. So
there you go.
Let's go.
Oh, wow.
Heads off to Clutch. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. As I always say, adios. Goodbye.